Hi, everyone. My name is Pranav Tadakonda. I'm the CEO of ZenDose, and I'm here to talk to you about a really exciting company. It's called ZenDose, and we're a biomedical diagnostic company that specializes in using tailor-made nanoparticles to help better measure body function. And specifically, through our lead product, ZenDose DX, we're looking to better measure kidney function. This idea stemmed from a couple personal experiences. The first being that a couple years ago, my grandfather passed away to kidney failure, and a test like the one that we're trying to develop would have saved his life. The second is that several members of the team have deep experience working in labs at esteemed universities and hospitals around the world, like MIT and Brigham and Women's. We're solving a huge problem here. Over 23 million patients in the United States alone have kidney problems, and Medicare spends over $24 billion taking care of these patients. And remarkably enough, in 2013, we have no way, or 2014, we have no way to accurately measure their kidney function. Our solution to this problem is elegant and simple. It's an injectable nanoparticle solution that will give you fast, accurate, and reliable results in less than an hour. ZenDose has the potential to become the gold standard in kidney function measurement, and this is the team with which we're going to do it. Like I said, my name is Pranav Tadakonda, and I'm the CEO.
My name is Samir Sarma, and I'm the Chief Medical Officer.
My name is Parth Tamboli. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer.
I'm Sahil Belgankar. I'm the Chief Technology Officer.
Hi, my name is Ashim Adhani. I'm the Chief Financial Officer.
In addition to having 5 very hardworking and dedicated individuals as our team, as you can see on the stage, we've worked closely with 4 gentlemen with over 100 combined years of domain experience relevant to ZenDose's goal. In particular, we've worked with these gentlemen on the regulatory process and commercialization of our product. I'll hand it over to Samir now to describe the technology.
So this is a huge problem that we're trying to address. Accurate dosing of drugs is very important because it involves striking a fine balance between the efficacy and the toxicity of drugs. When a patient's kidney isn't functioning at 100%, the dose of a drug that needs to be given to them has to be adjusted. Let me give you an example. If a patient's kidney is only functioning at 60%, and the drug they're being given is primarily excreted through the kidneys, then that dose needs to be reduced to 60% to avoid any toxic side effects. And it's not just a small number of people that have kidney problems. 10% of all diabetics progress to kidney failure. And as we mentioned before, 23 million American adults have chronic kidney impairment, and Medicare spends over $24 billion taking care of these patients. So as you can see, the health and economic benefits that ZenDose can produce are enormous. The measurement of kidney function is called glomerular filtration rate, or GFR. It's essentially a measurement of how effectively the kidney can filter materials. However, the current methodologies used to measure GFR haven't changed in decades. They're very archaic and rely on outdated chemical principles that produce results that are either 1, too laborious, or 2, too unreliable. The first test, the inulin test, is where the chemical inulin is injected into the bloodstream. And inulin is excreted through the urine over a process of 24 hours in which the patient has to collect every single urine sample. And then it involves a cumbersome analysis that can take another 24 hours. So 48 hours have passed before you get any kind of measurement. The second test, though much faster, is far more unreliable. It's the creatinine test. And creatinine test is dependent on several individual patient characteristics, such as body mass, race, and pregnancy. But you don't have to take our word for the shortcomings of both of these methods. Even as we speak, the National Institutes of Health are running clinical studies to try to develop more accurate methods of measuring kidney function. Here's one such study conducted in June 2013 that reads, standard blood and urine tests are often unable to provide accurate information about the kidneys. And these such tests are still recruiting today. Now let me walk you through our unique solution. As you saw before, all the current methods used to measure kidney function use chemical principles. At ZenDose, we're doing something completely different. We're leveraging a known physical phenomenon that all particles under 5 nanometers are filtered through the kidneys like so. Now, the idea to use nanoparticles came out of my internship at MIT, where they use nanoparticles for a variety of different purposes. However, they're all concerned with keeping nanoparticles in the body for as long as possible. We want to get our nanoparticles out of the body as quickly as possible. The problem with this is that most nanoparticles carry some kind of charge, either positive or negative. So when these particles are injected into the bloodstream, the positive particles will attract negatively charged proteins in the plasma, and the negatively charged particles will attract positively charged proteins. This causes the particles to rapidly increase in size. Once they get bigger than 5 nanometers, they can't be filtered through the kidneys. Now, in the past, this wasn't a problem because everyone was concerned with keeping the nanoparticles in the body. But this directly opposes our goals. So here's where ZenDose differs itself from everyone. We propose coating our nanoparticles in a Zwitter ion, which is something that has both a positive and a negative charge. So when we coat our nanoparticles in this Zwitter ion, the dual charges will cancel each other out and create nanoparticles with a net surface charge that's neutral. This will eliminate all size enlargement in the plasma, keep our nanoparticles at their engineered size, and allow them to be filtered through the kidneys. And there is literature evidence to suggest that this indeed works and that these nanoparticles can be filtered out in 45 minutes to an hour. Now, once the particles are filtered out, there are a variety of methods we can use to quantify exactly how many nanoparticles have been filtered through. The one we propose using is technetium-99, which is one of the most commonly used radio tracers on the market today. It's already present in several approved products. All of this is insured in our provisional patent that we plan to file in the second half of this year.
This is how ZenDose DX will be used. There are 4 simple steps. First, when the patient comes into the hospital, they'll be injected with our product. Then, when the nanoparticles are filtered through the kidneys, a nurse will come 45 minutes to an hour later and will collect a urine sample. Then the urine sample would be brought to the lab, and we will use commonly used scintigraphy techniques to find out an accurate measure of kidney function. Let's talk about the initial patient population. Our initial go-to market strategy is in an acute care setting. Let's take Puneeth, for example. He has an impaired kidney and he also has a severe infection. To treat a severe infection, he needs prescription antibiotics. But the doctor does not know the correct dosage to give him because, the doctor does not know the correct dosage to give him. The doctor needs to know the rate at which the the drugs are being filtered through the kidneys. But the current standards of care are inadequate. That's where ZenDose comes in. We'll be able to provide correct information to the doctors so they'll be able to correctly dose patients. There are 3 main parties that we will be able to help. They're the patients who will receive a higher standard of care. They're the physicians who will have a lot more information at their disposal and will be able to treat patients better. And there are the payers who will save large sums of money.
So at ZenDose, we plan to use the next 3 years to hire an R&D team as well as start our clinical trials. In 2017, we plan to get U.S. regulatory approval, and from there on, we want to start selling to acute care settings such as hospitals. In 2018/2019, we want to start selling to preventative markets such as diabetes, which is one of the most profitable markets. Let me explain that market. So, diabetes. Many of you here know of someone with diabetes or have diabetes yourself. The people who do know must know that every year you're recommended to go to your physician and get your eye tested to make sure that your eyes are functioning properly. Now, it's also known that kidney function can decrease due to diabetes. Yet why doesn't anyone get their kidney function tested on a yearly basis? That's because current methods are inadequate, and this is where ZenDose steps in. ZenDose will help you actively monitor your kidney function. At ZenDose, we'd also like to go to nursing homes as well as go global. Over many parameters, ZenDose is superior to our competition. ZenDose leverages a physical phenomenon, while other products, inulin and creatinine, are chemical-based phenomena.
We believe that our path to commercialization is relatively clear and straightforward. Now, what leads us to believe this is as follows. 1, we're very confident that the FDA will be regulating our product as a diagnostic imaging agent. 2, we believe that the FDA will be regulating it like that, but also they've already published a set of guidelines that are very clear and straightforward on how to get a product of this class regulated. What's interesting about ZenDose DX is that all the materials that we're going to be using to create the nanoparticle have already been pre-approved for human use. And on top of that, they're actively being used in drugs right now that are on the market and very active. This means that the safety hurdles for our products are much lower than something else of this class. This also leads that the clinical trials will be short, inexpensive, and very straightforward. Now this here is our pricing model. As you can see, the projected sale price is $130. The place we get this number from is our competitors' inulin and creatinine, which is chemical-based phenomenons, range from $40 to $100. However, they are grossly inadequate. So we're charging a 30% premium on the max price, which is $100 of inulin, and we can offer this premium pricing because of the value we also offer, the lives we also save. We get a cost of goods sold from $15. Now, majority of this $15 goes into creating a sterile vial to where we keep the nanoparticles. This leaves a gross margin of $115 or 88%. Now, what you see here is our financial projections over the next 7 years. In the first 3 years, 2014, 2015, and 2016, we are projecting a loss due to startup costs and R&D phase. We have, on average, $6.5 million loss a year, because $5 million for clinical trials. However, when we commercialize in 2017, in quarter 3, we plan to break even. And by 2021, quarter 4, we plan to have $117 million in net profit. Now, this graph goes by 2 assumptions. Number one, that we will get about 15% of the market, which is very conservative because there's a very large market and capturing only 15%. And also, with the second assumption goes by is that there's no other competition that arises. However, we feel very confident that if competition were to come along, which is inevitable, that we're the first to come to this industry. So we have a very large head start over everybody else. And 2, with 88% profit margins, we can afford to price down a little bit, still stay competitive, and still remain profitable.
We split our funding request into 2 rounds of financing, the first being Series A, in which today we'd be looking to raise $6 million at a pre-money valuation of about $10 million. And that money would be used to hire an R&D team and really kickstart our clinical trials and get the company started and off the ground. And if all goes as planned, we'd come back next year seeking another $14 million in Series B financing to finish our clinical trials and really gear up for commercialization. As my partners described to you before, ZenDose has a ton of potential. We have the potential to become the gold standard in kidney function measurement. We have a very passionate team with very passionate and hardworking individuals. We have the idea and we have the knowledge. Now all we need is your help. We'd love to take any questions that you have. Thank you.
You talked about a short cycle for clinical trials. Where do you get that estimate from?
Since all the products used in ZenDose DX have already been pre-approved for safety by the FDA, we feel our clinical studies will only need to establish efficacy in order to be approved by the FDA. And so this is why we think our clinical trials will be fairly short compared to most drugs that are regulated.
Okay. Second question. If this is as serious a problem as you kind of identify, why hasn't something like this been done before?
Everyone is looking in the complete different direction. They're trying to keep nanoparticles inside the body to measure kidney function and to measure other body functions. And no one's really put together the Zwitter ion that Samir described to you that will keep our particles manufactured, or keep them at their manufactured size. And that enables us to take the nanoparticles outside the body, right? And the current methods, inulin and creatinine, are used, but they're inadequate because they're either too laborious or time-consuming.
If I can add to that, the NIH is also conducting studies to try to develop more accurate methods of measuring, but they're going along the same route as inulin and creatinine, they're trying to find more chemical measurements. So no one has actually thought to use the physical principle of nanoparticles to actually measure kidney function.
How do you know there's no other research going on to do exactly that, maybe with a different method, and therefore yours is not the only method to do that?
Well, from what we've read on the NIH website and the clinical trials website, there are no clinical trials going on right now looking for a physical solution or utilizing a physical phenomenon. And like we showed you before, that trial is looking for a chemical solution to the problem. And all the clinical trials on the website aren't displaying any sort of relevance to our goal.
You mentioned that you have 15% of the market share, you will get it. So the 85% rest of the companies are doing. How did you come up with $130 per dose? And how does that compare with the price of the other providers of the 85%?
Well, so right now we're the first to come to this market. So 15% market share is how much is going off of the revenues. When it comes to how we got to the price of $130, like I said before, inulin and creatinine, which are the two methods that they're using right now to measure kidney function, range between $40 to $100. So, but like I said before, they're very inadequate. They're not doing the job. So ours offers a premium value that will get the job done efficiently. So we charge the 30% premium on the maximum price. Now, when you're saying about the rest 85% of the market, right now there's no direct competition to us. There's no other physical phenomenon going on in the market that's trying to measure kidney function.
If I may add to that, inulin and creatinine aren't actually products. They're chemicals and they're tests. So the fees are coming from the labor that the nurses and the hospitals have to go through to administer those tests. The chemicals themselves aren't $100.
Well, the concept is very interesting if it works. So assuming that it works the way you've described it, I feel that the amount of capital that you're raising is very low to build a life science company.
Actually, last year, the average Series A financing for a biomedical company was, I think, $7.4 million. So ours is in that ballpark, and we haven't. And once we would take that $6 million and go to start our clinical trials, we'd get a better estimate of what kind of financing we need in Series B. That $14 million was just a projection.
I'd also like to add to that. So if you've read our business plan, we've also talked about talking to a man named Praveen Tiperneni. He's actually the VP of clinical trials as well as financial projections. And so we actually talked to him in depth, and he said that $6 million for a Series A would be suffice for our product, especially since most of our products have already been approved by the FDA.
You don't have any, patent rights at this point. You are still applying for a patent. So how do you protect the intellectual property if there are so many other big companies already working on it, and you are in the startup business to protect your rights to this particular application?
At the moment, right now, there are no companies working on physical measurements of using a physical phenomenon to measure kidney function. As I said before, all the NIH is doing is looking at more chemical tests that they can do. So right now, no one is really focused on this phenomenon. So we feel that we'll be safe until we can file our patent.
So I got a two-part question. First one, you guys mentioned, someone over here mentioned about the physician doesn't know what is the right content or dosage. How does this one, I was not clear on how would this solution provide that, number one. Number two, in your financial statements, you guys had, if I read the numbers correct, 0 to 64. 64 came out in 2017 or something. Yeah, that's the revenue in first year. How does that happen? Straight away you get jump from 0 to 64, 65?
Could you repeat the first part of your question?
Here, I think I can actually answer your first part of your question. So if I understand what you're saying properly, you don't understand how our product helps the patient dose the patient, right? So currently, doctors say they need to dose you for something in your liver. They'll give you 100 milligrams of said medicine. Now, if your kidneys only work at 75%, 25% of that will stay in your body, and that can cause other organs like livers and intestine to be decomposed or to be impaired. So now what our product does is it tells you at what percentage your kidney's functioning. So we, again, say it's at 75%. Then that means that the doctor knows to only dose you 75 milligrams, not 100. That way all of that goes through your body.
And are you suggesting that the physician will not know without your product how much the kidney is functioning?
Well, right now they have a rough estimate because inulin and creatinine are, that's the only thing that they can use right now. And they have a rough estimate, but there's way too much error in those tests. And our product would be able to really pinpoint the kidney function so doctors know exactly what kind of dose they need to give their patient to avoid any toxic side effects.
Actually, if I can add again. One problem with patients who are in, say, therapeutic drug monitoring, where they're in the hospitals for long periods of time, their kidney function needs to be measured every time they're dosed for whatever drug they're being prescribed. And inulin is so cumbersome that doctors generally only use it once or twice during their entire stay. So if their stay is, say, for 5 months in the hospital, doctors are operating off a test that they've conducted maybe 3 months ago. So they don't know if the kidney function has changed in that time, and so they could unknowingly be overdosing the patients because the current standards of care are too laborious to run every single time.
We never came to the second part of the question.
And in terms of the finance, we believe that since we're the first to this market and since there's no real solution to this problem, with our product, we believe that in the first 3 years we'd be able to detail this product to hospitals, and as soon as we are ready to commercialize the product, hospitals will be buying it very quickly because this is such a huge problem, and so many people are dying because people are getting overdosed with drugs, and hospitals will save money, the payers will save money, and the patients will get better outcomes, and the physicians will be able to treat patients better.
If I could just add to that, at the same time, this is a need to many patients, not just in America, but all over the world. So for doctors especially, it could decrease their stay as well, and patients have to pay for each and every single day they're in the hospital extra, and the doctor, the quicker he can treat a patient, the more he can move on. So it works out for everybody, as we said, the three main parties.
We only have one question, so why don't you? I think we have time only for one question.
So, great idea. I shared what Jesse said. You guys are all seniors. You're not going to go to college and run this show for the next 5 years?
We're actually all, we're 3 freshmen, or 3 rising sophomores, a rising junior and a rising senior, but we'd love to look into it over the summer and see what we can do to expand the idea.
With $65 million ramping up from zero, you know how many patients you have to reach to get that revenue? How do you go by getting that scaling up in a short period of time without sending so many millions of patients?
Well, like we said, in the first 3 years, we would be detailing the product to hospitals so they know about our product, and they know that once we're ready to launch, they'd want to get our product into their hospital as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much.